making fun of like stuff that we shouldn't make fun of.
And to be honest, for years, I thought he's making these up.
If you can find out what it is that thing was meant to be and make it the best that it's supposed to be.
And I didn't want anything to do with it. It smelled like skunks to me at the time. It's just gross.
The other day, I officially had the worst cup of coffee I ever had.
Could you imagine the pressure?
No.
The pressure to make you a cup of coffee.
This was an incredible conversation. This went way deep.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I'm glad we're doing this. Hey guys, welcome to the Coffee Snob Podcast. I have a super awesome guest today. Jarrod Brown is here. If you've heard me say anything about Bite of Brownie Productions, this is the guy who makes all the magic happen. So,
It's me.
like, you like the videos and stuff? Do you like the atmosphere, all the editing that goes into this? This is the guy. He does it all. It's awesome. And so I just wanted to introduce you guys to him because he kind of made all this happen, and he's a big part even of what we do here at the store. And honestly, it's just a gift to me, and it's a gift to the store. So thanks for sitting down with me.
Goodness.
And yeah, I just want to ask you some questions and introduce you to everybody. So yeah.
What an intro.
Yeah.
Hopefully I can live up to the hype.
Yeah, I think if you've seen any of the videos, he's already lived up to the hype.
This is what's fun for me, man, because to me, all of these videos are getting to hang out with my friend and make cool things.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's fun.
It's fun. We have a good time. So.
It may or may not pay the bills. I don't know, but like, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Real talk. It's a lot of fun to sit down and just like create. For instance, I don't know if it'll have aired by the time that this episode airs, but we got in here maybe a couple of weeks ago with Hunter, you remember?
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
Hunter and who else? Who was the other one?
Was it Gideon?
It was Gideon.
Oh, my
Hunter
gosh.
and Gideon had been cutting up, and they had some ideas
They don't
about...
stop. I got to watch how I schedule them together.
That's fair enough. I'll come in here sometimes. No. They're well behaved when you're gone. But no, they had been brainstorming and coming up with some like just crazy off the wall ideas for some videos, and I had come across them, and I'm like, dude, I think these work. And I ran them by you because basically I think it was Hunter outed Gideon and said, we've got some good ideas, but I don't know if the boss is going to go for them. We filmed all of those ideas. You were game.
Yeah. It was
Lots
awesome.
of skits and fun stuff. And I think we came up with like 15 videos is what we have made for it. Hilarious.
It was like sitcom stuff.
I don't
It
know.
was hilarious.
I don't know if anybody's going to get them outside of
It was
the
hilarious
four
to
of us.
Yeah.
But it was so much fun to make, and it was such a breath of fresh air because we make a lot of, in my line of work, we make a lot of podcasts and a lot of corporate stuff. So you sit down and it's all got to be like stock footage, or you got to have the highest quality B-roll. And I try to shoot for that here, but at the same time, this is like a different environment, so you kind of get some off the cuff stuff.
Yeah.
But it was so nice to be able to hang out with you guys, come up with some shenanigans, and then just hope for the best.
That was fun. Just making fun of each other and just like making fun of like stuff that I feel like probably we shouldn't make fun of if we want people to like our product, but It's like, some real stuff about coffee. I think one of them was like, flavor notes in coffee.
Oh yeah. Well, because
so I'm like,
anyone who has been to the store and has tasted your coffee can relate to that video.
when I just dump flavor notes out of my
if you're a rookie,
nose.
if you're a rookie like I was many, many years ago coming into coffee and I don't know what a flavor note is, your excitement and enthusiasm for everything that is coffee. You're like, oh, did you taste this? And did you catch the rind on the back end of that? It's like,
yeah.
No, I didn't.
A little hint of watermelon rind and lavender. Yeah.
And to be honest, for years, I thought he's making these up. For years, because I couldn't, my palate could not pick up on the things that you were picking up on. I'm like, what is he talking about? Raisins. There's no raisins in this thing. Because I was expecting like you get in the flavored drinks, like Powerade or whatever. This one tastes like cherry. Bam.
It's cherry.
And that's not what it is. They're like memories. You explained it one time, one of the podcasts we were sitting down, I think it was your brother or somebody, but y'all were talking about, it was cigars actually.
Yeah.
It's what pulls on the memories or what you've tasted as a kid, or that one time that comes to mind whenever you're sipping on on the coffee. And
that's huge. Or the cigar, or the wine, or anything. You know, it's like it takes you back. Yeah,
but that's you. So that video is really going to speak to the people who have come across you, and they're going to go, "That's Lance.
That's so
Did
good.
you taste it? The excitement. Did you taste it?"
Yeah.
That was awesome. That one, I think, and my second one, again, hopefully it's out. Otherwise, it's going to be very weird and awkward. But
we'll see.
when you were talking through, you were jabbing at you again about how everything is your favorite or the best.
Oh, yeah. Hey, that's hard for me because a lot of times I can't decide.
Well, that's fair because you don't serve it unless it's the best.
Yeah.
You're not going to put it before people. We had a podcast a while back about hospitality, and you and Chelsea sat down and we're talking through, like, why would you offer anything less than the best to somebody that you're trying to build a relationship with?
Yeah.
It's like,
it's really hard when people come over to like the cigar humidor, or they ask me about a coffee that we have and they say, which one's your favorite? And I'm like, oh gosh, like, you know, what did I go through that week? You know what I mean? And what am I pairing it with?
Right.
And you know, what's the temperature outside? And you know, it all makes a difference because they're all so unique. And I say this all the time, but a lot of times it just is what it is. And if you can appreciate it for being what it is, then you've discovered something really beautiful about whatever it is that's how it is with ag products. Coffee is an ag product, tobacco is an ag product, tea is an agricultural product, wine, agricultural product, like beer, yeast, barley, you know, all these things are all
plants.
Yeah. Or people, you know what I mean? It's just like, if you can find out what it is that thing was meant to be and make it the best that it's supposed to be in its meaning. I mean, it's like, gosh, man, that's deep.
You don't know how great it is, and I'm sure others who have been here can vouch for this, but you don't know how great it is to have, say, a friend who's into cigars or a family member. I'll take my brother-in-law, for instance. He's just gotten into cigars, and he's scouring the earth for good.
He's all in. I love it. I love it.
Looking for it. And when he comes into town, he lives up in Colorado Springs. When he comes into town, he's looking for, like, where do we need to go to find these cigars? And it's like, oh, I got a place in Lincolnville. And the first reaction from everybody is that. Okay, I'm talking about like good ones, like fine cigars. It's like, I know a place. I know a guy. And the cool part is, like, I can vouch for the product that you're putting out. I'm not a cigar guy. My wife won't stand for that. Yeah. She doesn't like the smell of it, so I can't smoke them. But I can tell them with certainty because I've had the muffins, I've had the coffee, I've had the limeades, I've had the Texican tacos and the burritos, and the entire menu, whether I needed it or not. I can say, you go there, and you will find what you're looking for.
Yeah.
It's not like you have 3 of them. When you go, you go.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it now. It's
30-something boxes
this humidor is bigger than, I don't know, one of your freezers.
My problem with the humidor is every stick that I put in there, I'm trying not to get a $25 stick every time I get a new box. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, but this is the best.
But
you know
it's
what
the
I mean?
best.
And I've had this, Padron 1926 anniversary. Like, I want to offer that, but I can't right now because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got like 8 boxes of cigars that are like over $20 right now. So I gotta like kind of
I love your vetting
rein it back.
Your vetting process is amazing because I think I asked you the last time, it was, how do you know what cigars to go after? You go, I have a handful of people that I trust, and if it doesn't make the top 3, like if it's not in the top 3,
or if I've tried it and I said that was an awesome cigar, then I'll keep the label, and the rest of them I chuck, And so I know, like, if I go through my labels and when I'm shopping for cigar boxes, like, I know, like, okay, these are the top ones. If I smoked it and I was like, this was amazing. Like the last cigar that I had, so I went to Fort Worth, went to a cigar shop, had a little cup of coffee with some cream and sugar in it, got a cigar, sat down, had a cigar, and gosh, it was awesome. It was a Plasencia del Campo. It was so good. But yeah, I've already got it in my cart. Like, we're getting a box of those in because they're amazing. And so it's always about sharing something good. Like, I want somebody to have that same experience that I had. You know, it was a whole experience with the cigar and the coffee and me talking with the bartender. I think once I left, they had a dude just sitting across the place, and I introduced myself and I talked to him a little bit. He came over and got a refill on his coffee because it was like, 11 o'clock in the morning or something. And so before he left, because I asked him, I said, what are you smoking there? And he said, oh, this is something that I brought in. And I said, oh, okay. Well, what is it? And he said, well, it's kind of like a little secret that I have with another cigar shop here in Fort Worth. And so before he left, he brings me this cigar wrapped in Cuban newspaper. And he handed it to me, and he goes, that's for you. I'm getting out of here. And I was like, dude, I said, thank you so much. I said, what is this? He said, I can't tell you, but it's a good cigar.
It's going to be good.
Yeah.
You're going to love it.
Yeah. So I'm like,
it's really going to be your new favorite.
Well, I'm just like, I'm saving it. You know what I mean? Because I know it's something that the same thing that I try to do here, like, that's what he did for me that time. Like, he just shared what he had with me, and it was just like a genuine act of kindness and love that he wanted to connect with me, and he wanted to offer this thing and share it with me. And I was like, so I'm waiting for like perfect conditions to smoke that cigar. Like, it's got to be all right. So it's sitting in my humidor at the house, and it's
how long are those things good for? Like, you're not going to be waiting for your first grandchild or anything, are you?
No, I mean, it's they're indefinite, and they actually get better as you age them. So that's another thing. Like, my $40 sticks in there, like, they're not going to sell in a year. You know what I mean? But, I know that they're just going to get better sitting in there. So I'm like, I'll buy them if nobody else wants them, but I know they're going to be good. I mean, heck, they're probably 8 months right now, and I'm about a quarter of the box through, $40 cigars in Lingleville.
That's what I love, though.
Yeah.
It's not only just getting to cut up with friends and trusting that they're getting a good product. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good that you almost feel like you're doing the world a service. And I'm gonna rat on you here in your own Coffee Snob podcast, but like, dude, you and Chelsea are the real deal. You're the real deal. Everything that we've talked about, I find myself sitting behind the camera when y'all are talking business, life, and family, and I'm like taking notes. Well, not really, because I don't have any.
All right.
But taking mental notes. I have to be running the cameras and whatnot. But it's such an inspiration to know that you practice what you preach. That if I send somebody to you, like, I feel like I'm doing the world a service by making a video that would attract somebody, give them just enough, have just enough attention that they go, I like that guy, or I want to try that product, or maybe it is as good as they say that it is, and then you get to deliver on it. Yeah. It's almost like I don't know what. I hope. Yeah, I'm sure that I'm sure every now and again there's the one-off situation where somebody wasn't having that taste bud, for that day. But no, man, it's just such a fun process. That's why I enjoy working with you guys. You're the real deal. It's gonna be there. You're gonna deliver every time.
Thanks, man.
And I'm learning tons about excellence.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what we try to do. I try to just share good things. And, we've talked about hospitality in the past and having people into your home. And this is my home. You know what I mean? I want to give people the best when they come to my house. I want to treat them. I want to roll off that red carpet and just they're the royalty,
I forget sometimes how much home this is for you guys. Like, I know you grew up in, the deep south of Louisiana. Yeah. But, y'all came here fairly quickly. You met Chelsea, and we've heard that in the previous podcasts and whatnot. But this is home. This is home.
Yeah.
This is where you went to school. This is where you're raised. This is where you have a whole bunch of memories of folks that you've known for forever.
Yeah.
How nice is that? Now I get to ask a question on your podcast. Yeah. How nice is that to be able to deliver for your people in your home something that they could not dream of. They would have to travel 70 miles to find the closest knockoff.
Yeah, that's
I like.
that's really huge for me. I mean, that's one reason I really love this place. It's because it is the community that I know. Like, I moved here, I think I was a sophomore in high school, and that's that. Ever since I moved here, these are the people that I've gotten to know, and they know me. And I sat in a classroom, or I was at the basketball game with them, or whatever it might be. Like, that's how I know.
Did Lance play basketball?
Yeah, I played a little basketball in high school. I wasn't very good, but I played. Yeah, it was fun. I was fast. That's about it.
You're in for 5 fouls and out?
Yeah. Well, I started playing when I was a sophomore, like when I was here. I went to a big school, so no way I'd make the team there. Here, everybody played basketball. It don't matter if you walked on and you never played before, you were on the team. So they just put me on the team, and they'd throw me in every once in a while when they needed to steal the ball, and then I'd just steal it and then get it stole from me or miss the shot or something. It was always like, when I stole the ball, they were probably like, pass it. So yeah. But all that said, like, a lot of the people who come in here are people that I know from times like that, and they know me from that. And so it really is awesome. And, we've talked about this before on the podcast, but, we've had the option to move, and we've had these offers to move all over the place, all over the world. And I really feel like at the end, we were really surrendered to whatever God wanted us to do. And so we just kind of held everything with open hands. And as he took options away, he said, hey, I want you to stay here. And we were like, what? That didn't make any sense. Like, there's nothing here. And he just said, stay here. It's going to be awesome. And, this place, turned into what it is. And it's a lot of fun. But you can ask me questions all day. I want to ask you some questions.
Fair enough.
So I want them to know, like, who are you? Like, what do you do for a living? I know you do video stuff, but you do other stuff too. So tell us about
deep,
yourself.
Huh?
Yeah.
Who are you?
Who are you deep inside?
Begin at the very beginning. Who am I? I'm a husband. I'm a pastor. I'm a Jesus follower. All the typical announcements that people do.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a super emotional, sometimes charismatic, sometimes depressed. Just dude. I love life. I'm a business owner here in town. That's been a new adventure. Spent many years, probably 6 years or so, many years ago, in the Air Force. And so immediately after high school, I went into the Air Force and kind of worked for the man, most of my life. And then went into ministry, which was working for, the guy. And kind of seemed like I knew the rules and understood kind of, what was expected out of a person, out of a man. It's pretty clear cut. Especially in ministry and military for me. There's a hierarchy to it.
I forget that you were in the military.
Yeah.
You do not strike me as like
another life ago. I wanted out so bad. I love the military. I love the bonds, the brotherhood. I probably would have stayed if I could have had a family, but we were deploying at such a rate that like you could not, guys were coming back and gals were coming back and their family was broken apart because you're not home. You just weren't home. And that
what years were that?
That was during the Iraq and Afghani wars. So that's, I got out in 2008 and I got in 2002, right after 9/11.
Oh, dang. Okay, yeah.
Went right in and got after it. But I wanted a family, and that was kind of something that I had asked the Lord for. And immediately met my wife as I transitioned out and was going to school, that sort of thing. Got a call to ministry. Been doing that ever since. Love it. That is my top number one priority thing. Obviously our family and the ministry, but then started dabbling our toe in a little bit in this thing called YouTube. And there was this new profession, if you will. It wasn't a profession. It was just hobbyists at the time. YouTubers were springing up. People having podcasts, which came a little bit later, just sharing life. And I saw something. I saw that the folks I was trying to minister to were on their cell phones watching this YouTube thing. Not that they were disinterested in what I was talking about. They were drinking in from all these different voices in the faith, and they're just hungry. And I thought, I want to be one of those voices. I want to figure out this video medium, and I want to be able to communicate the good news. I want to talk about Jesus. I want to share my life. And a couple of vloggers came along. I started doing that, and I came across you, believe it or not. And I was wanting to tell the story of faith-based or faith-filled businessmen. And remember that?
Yeah, yeah.
And how they walked.
That video. I looked back on that video and I was like, I didn't know anything.
And there was this young man in Lingleville that I had just met. I don't remember how long ago it had been. That's the thing about Lance. If you don't know about Lance, you feel like you've known him your entire life. But I don't really know how many years that we've known one another. It's
been a while now.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Time's getting away from me. But it's less than 20, more than 2. And there's a good healthy range
I bet
for
we're
you.
around 7. It's got to be 7 or 8 years now.
I don't know.
Okay. We need to talk about that.
But I come into the store, found you out, sat down. We did this janky little interview session where I've got a cell phone. You remember this?
Yeah.
And it's on a gimbal, and then it's like wired to you. And then I have my wife holding like a second cell phone, and we did the whole thing like that and asked you the silliest question. Just kind of wanted to know your story. And that video has tens of thousands of views.
Yeah.
For a YouTube channel that not before nor since had that kind of traffic. People resonated with your story, and I thought, man, that's exactly the kinds of stories I want to tell. So fast forwarding all of that, you had reached back out, and it was a couple years later, and you said, hey, do you remember coming over and making that video? You think you could do something like, I've seen some of your YouTube videos, do you think you could make something like that for me? Almost like a commercial for Facebook. And that was way before anybody was in on all the social media marketing. This is old school, old days. And we did, and it went bonkers again for our area. It was again.
Yeah. I mean, I think
thousands.
we got I think like 25,000 views in a few days.
And for anybody who's watching that's not a part of the Stephenville crowd, I mean, we're 17,123 is the population on Stephenville. Lingleville is what, a couple hundred?
Yeah, like nothing. Yeah, I don't even think there's
the college is the college is like, I don't know, 15 grand, 20 grand, whatever they are at this time.
Yeah.
And so that's everybody.
Yeah.
Everyone saw your video, and I hope that it blessed you in some way.
It was huge. That's almost like, I remember things changing right then. It went from this kind of slow, steady to, the uptick in customers. We've talked about in podcasts before that, there came this point where it got hard to handle all of a sudden. And I think it was like right around that time, all of a sudden, like everybody. So that's one thing. If you're going to do, some marketing and start pushing, make sure you have the infrastructure in place to handle that, because, if you get it in their hand, they will come. And
it was a beautiful thing. Everyone saw it, and that was good both for you and for me, because everyone saw it. And I guess they asked you somehow or another, they got a hold of my number, and I wasn't even looking at, going down that road.
Yeah.
The video production side. I was still just making vlogs and stuff.
Really?
And
okay, I didn't know that.
And people reached out, and they said, hey, can you do for me what you did for Lance? And I've built an entire business on, can you do for me what you did for Lance?
That's so awesome.
I kid you not. I was teasing him a couple weeks ago, and I said, hey, what I do is extremely expensive, but I can't do this without you, because basically everyone who comes into my pipeline has seen your content in some way, shape, form, or fashion.
Yeah.
This little bitty store and the videos that we make, silly, serious, whatever.
Yeah.
They're punching above their weight class.
Yeah.
And they're getting out there. And I'm going to say this in front of him. He's heard this spiel. I have a theory on this. I think it is the anointing that God has put upon Lance for business and sharing his faith in business. I think that's why that video did so good. I think that's why his business. I don't mean to take anything away from the work that you and Chelsea put in.
No, I think you're right.
I
mean, I think that's. I think it's who we are.
It's who you are.
It's nothing that I try to do. You know what I mean? I just really feel like if you've watched any of our other podcasts, you know, like what happens in the business world is really just an outpouring of what's inside of me. And that's what I try to encourage even from you guys, is that, you know, whatever you do in your coffee shop or whatever business that you're in, even if it's just your home, that it's really genuine and it's an outpouring of who you are. And for me, who I am is I just want to love people, and I don't know. When Jesus was on this earth, you can read the Gospels, and it's like there were crowds of people following him around because he loved people so well. Like literally, if you can explain John 3:16 and 17, you know, God sent his son because he loved the world so much, and he did not come to condemn the world, but to save it, you know? And it's like, man, if I can just be Jesus to other people, if we could all just be Jesus, gosh, man, like, read the gospel and see. I mean, I don't care what you believe. You know what I mean? It's like, read about how Jesus acted on this earth. And if everybody could act like that, we wouldn't need anything. We would have everything we needed. You know, there would be peace. You know, there would be all this great stuff, you know, and it's like, instead, I think people, a lot of times they turn their nose up at stuff until they come in contact with Jesus. And it's like, well, am I being Jesus to that person, you know? And it's not like this external in me trying to be Jesus. It's like, if it's not from the inside out, I don't want to do it anyway. You know what I mean? I don't want to go there. And I don't think God wants me to go there. He wants to change inside of me first. He wants to know me, and he wants me to know him. And that's where all this stuff comes from. So yeah, if you wanted to hear the gospel around a business, there you go. But it's true. I mean, it's true. Like,
it's a double dip for me.
It just works.
It just works. It's who you are. It's who he is. And it's a double dip because of my ministry background. Now I get to dabble in video, have fun making things with my friend who, oh yeah, by the way, loves Jesus. And if the people who watch these videos, it resonates with them, because it's pretty open. You're sharing a podcast that you're a Jesus follower. They like that. They're coming here and they have a chance to taste and see that the Lord is good. Like all the way through on all the different levels that means.
Yeah.
They get to meet you. They get to meet your wife. They get to meet the people that you've trained. They get to taste the products that are excellent, as you always say. They get to enjoy an atmosphere, and then you get to point them at the last minute, as you get to know them and develop a relationship, you get to point them to Jesus and say, oh yeah, by the way, all of this, and I can say the same thing, all of this
is because of him.
Is him.
It's just because of him.
It's him.
And I can just sit back and say thanks, you know?
The screw-ups are me. Everything else.
The screw-ups.
The screw-ups are me.
The screw-ups are me too.
If you come across me out there in the workplace and I've had a bad day and it's not reeking of Jesus, that would be me.
Well, that's kind of
get the bad end of a business deal. That's it.
I think that's part of following Jesus too, is not getting it right, you know. And I think that's why, you know, I put that little clause in there. It says, "I didn't come to condemn the world."
Yeah.
You know, I came to redeem the world. And so, yeah, that's fun. Okay. So a little bit more about you,
sir.
You've got this video thing going on, and it's kind of side gig. It's becoming more. So that's kind of what got you into video. That's cool. What got you into coffee? Like how did you get into good coffee? I feel like you had a little bit of this before you met me.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. But I'm just now realizing how much overlap. Like, you're in my life a lot. So I'm getting ready to talk about Lance again. But no, my wife my wife's family, they grew up having coffee at all hours of the day and night. So coffee was fellowship. Coffee was hanging out with friends and family. They would have people over, and the first offering of hospitality was coffee. Now, the coffee was usually in their culture, the darker, the blacker, the more gritty and grimy, the better. And I didn't want any part of that. Do you want coffee?
Stand the spoon up in it, yeah.
Nope, they want it strong and black. Yeah. And it just wasn't my thing. And so my wife said, "Hey, I'm praying for you." And she's just goofing, by the way. Don't take this seriously, but it was a regular occurrence that she would say, "I'm praying for you that at 35 you will like coffee."
At 35.
Well, just
Drew a line in the sand.
by 35, I should say. And I didn't want anything to do with it. It smelled like skunks to me at the time. It's just gross, nappy gross. It's what her family does. But she wanted a companion to drink coffee with, to wake up in the mornings and have a sip of coffee and all that. Well, I went on a mission trip to Nepal, and much like the military, in the military, if you wanted a break from work, they would have a smoke break. And I learned to go outside with the guys who were having a smoke break. And I didn't smoke, but I would secondhand sit there with the guys, and that's where the fellowship was happening. That's where the good times were happening. Well, I caught on that on a mission trip, that's where the fellowship happens. If I want to sit in the car and be a bump on a pickle, then I'm going to miss out on what's going on. Or if I want to sit inside and not go on the trip down to the coffee shop, so as you're sitting there, you just kind of start sipping on things.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, coffee does not taste terrible. You could put things like milk in it.
Whoa.
I didn't know these things because it was always strong and black.
Yeah.
Like Folgers, strong and black.
Yeah.
Don't knock Folgers, but there were other options out there. And when we got back, I told my wife, I said, "Hey, it wasn't 35, but I tasted some and it wasn't terrible. I'd be interested in trying some more." And at that particular point in time, I think there was a young startup store that had been cranking.
Really?
And she loved their coffee, and I was getting to know their owner pretty good. We had done a video or two with them.
Dang, okay.
She says, "You need to try some coffee." And I came in here, and you started making me drinks that tasted good. I started off on the baby stuff. They had super sweetener. I think everything was mocha chocolate loaded down
That's
to
right,
the hilt, because you were like easing me into it, but you would push me out of my comfort zone and say, "Try a churro." Oh man.
Yeah.
What is that? So I drink churro for
I know for a
6
while
months.
you would ask for something, and sometimes you just come in and be like, "Whatever you want to make me."
Well, now
just make it,
that was a growth. That took a long time. I'm a man of habits and patterns.
Yeah.
And so just recently, I would say last 2 years or so, I can walk into the store and I don't care what you make me. Whatever you're going to make me is good. I love all that is coffee at this particular juncture. And so anyway, that's kind of the progression. My wife's prayers for coffee by 35, and then coming across you and you making coffee beyond palatable, like enjoyable.
Yeah.
We're all in now. Wife and I have espresso machine at the house. It's not that we don't need you. We love you. Thank you for the connection. It's the fellowship. But we make all our stuff. Like we have it, the grind right. We've got the amount of time that the water passes through the grind. We've got it all like dialed in. We're weighing it all. Everything's weighed out. The only thing I haven't figured out, and he was teaching me today, is the milk, how to froth the milk, because we've got a little bitty.
Oh yeah.
As soon as I figure that out, I'm ready to enter into some competitions.
It's tricky with those smaller machines. Got to get that milk moving. So that's cool. I'm glad I was a big part of that. That makes me happy. You know that? Because today you even drank some black coffee with me.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I'm all in on black coffee now too. Yep.
I've told people for years that like coffee should taste good.
By itself.
Coffee tastes good by itself if it's done right. Like the other day I officially had the worst cup of coffee I ever had. Worst, okay?
Oh, just
and this was like
dime them out.
It was bad, and it was at
church. It was a half watered down pot of coffee.
Okay, so here's the thing: if you want to make the worst cup of coffee you ever made, get something super dark roast. Okay, it's gonna extract really easy because that bean is really broken down already by the roast. It's like, if you burn something beyond recognition, it's going to have all these pores and holes in it, right? So it's going to extract a lot easier than, say, something that's light roasted. So get some coffee that's really easy to extract, really dark roast. And then dial back how much you put in there, because you don't want to make it strong because you don't like it bitter, right? So you don't put as much coffee in. And then you add a ton of water and you run that water through and it extracts everything out of that coffee. So that coffee's way, 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 way over extracted because you used way too much water to coffee and it's already a dark roast. You didn't even care about the grind because it's already ground up. You know what I mean? You run all that water through there and what you're left with is just really bitter water. And it's like, that's the coffee that I had last week. I was like, oh my gosh. And I told the guy who brought it to me, he's a fellow barista, and he was like, the coffee's terrible, but we really need the caffeine right now. And I was like, thanks. And I was like, no, thanks. I was like, I said, I think this is the worst cup I ever had right here.
Could you imagine the pressure? We felt this pressure. This has been, you came over to the house one time. It's a couple, maybe months ago, maybe a year ago. It's been a while. I didn't have it back over.
It's been a long time, yeah.
But you came over by the house, and we were going to make you a cup of coffee. You can't imagine
the
pressure to make you a cup of coffee.
That's on like, you. I'll tell you, I'm not that picky.
Or are we going to use the French press?
Maybe I am.
Are we going to use the Chemex for this one? The V60? I don't know. It's just one cup. Or should we?
That's hilarious,
dude.
I don't think about that because honestly, like I'm usually pretty relaxed when it comes to coffee, even at even at public events where they brew big pots of it. I don't expect it. I don't expect that coffee at the hotel to be good. So I put cream and sugar in it, and it's like, all right, and it's good. But this cup of coffee, like, they did the impossible. And like they made the coffee that bad. And I'm just telling you, like, if you want to make terrible coffee, don't use a lot of coffee and get a dark roast. And you'll get bitter, bitter, bitter. And it's funny because it's the opposite of what you might think. You think, I'm not going to put as much coffee in there so it's not as bitter. But you actually need to add more so it doesn't extract as much. Because it's a ratio thing. It's water to coffee. Anyway.
20 to 1, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. So I think they were way up there, like, 30 to 1 or something. Anyway, okay, so that's how you got in the coffee.
Yeah.
So Jarrod does this really special thing for us where he makes videos for us. And for some reason, God told him, don't charge us. And I'll just say that. I'll just put it out there. He makes us videos, and they are like on the house. And so I try to push him wherever I can because honestly, like, it's such a huge blessing to us. I think, once we get, super successful and we expand, I'm just going to bring him on to the payroll, but maybe one day. But anyway, how did you come to that? Like, what did that look like for you? Like, and I know I didn't ask you this question ahead of time, but I just want to know, like why, what, like when, where, how did that happen?
In formulating my business, I don't want just another business. I don't need a job. I'm already a pastor. I don't need a side hustle to be able to make enough money so that God provides all that stuff. What I wanted to do was a revelatory business, meaning like I wanted to do this business God's way. So I wanted to have the clients that he told me to have. I wanted to have, I wanted to charge what he told me to charge. I wanted to bring on young folks who didn't have a skill and teach them a skill. And that way they could follow the Lord in their own business and future and show them what that looks like to walk out their faith in the business realm. And so in praying about that, and I should probably caveat all this so that the viewers can understand, I believe in a living God who has an opinion, and he speaks, and he is guiding our steps. And so if you seek him for counsel, he's going to respond. And in that first bit of like, who do you want me to take on as clients? Those clients, many of them were friends, but they couldn't handle the financial burden of it. it was like, and it didn't seem to matter to him. So it like, well, what do you want me to charge him? No, no, no. What do you want? What do you want me to charge them? No, you're missing it. There's something about who he is that kind of in that moment, it changed my heart. I could say, and from a human perspective, I have been blessed immensely. I've mentioned it earlier. Every one of my clients have come through you or the others. But that's not the reason. The reason is he said Lance. He said a couple others. I don't want to out them on the podcast, but
Yeah.
make sure that be generous. Make sure they're taken care of. And what really honestly, what co-labored that, what made that super easy, was you guys had already been incredibly generous to me and Jesse, and I had seen that modeled in you. And I don't know why. This may be just a solid that God gave me. Like, hey, it takes some of the pressure off of your mind. Like, why are we doing this? It felt like good, fertile soil to sow into, and so that it's really easy on my end. It's like good people. Number one, God said it. Good people. It's a great investment, and I feel like I'm co-laboring in spreading seeds of the kingdom. I get to take my craft, my skill. I get to put it. I get to highlight someone I think God said to highlight, and I feel like I'm co-laboring with Him and with you, and we're seeing kingdom increase. So that's basically why. If you want to put it down to the short version, the short version is, I feel like the Lord told me to invest in a certain group of people and to run my business differently. So there we are.
That's awesome. So I like that you brought in, or that you even mentioned, like, I'm expanding the kingdom. And it's like, what is, like, I know a lot of you guys like understand like Bible language, but some of you guys don't. And so I want to ask, like, what is that? Like, what does it mean, like a kingdom?
So to break it down from my limited understanding
Right?
of the kingdom, because the kingdom is so immense. If I could boil it down, the kingdom is Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and whomever they've invited in. And thank God, thank Him that we've been invited into that relationship. We are now a part of the kingdom through the blood of Christ. We've been welcomed back into family, the expanse of that kingdom. And so whenever I say kingdom, a lot of folks think, church.
The Crusades.
Yeah,
God wills it.
Yeah. Force people into believing in Jesus.
Oh my gosh.
No, it's the permeation of another atmosphere, another reality that is invading our own. When we say the kingdom of heaven, is the atmosphere, the culture of what it is to eternally exist in three persons in perfect harmony and unity, glory and power, and to want to infuse or expand what we call in the church dominion, rule, not saying by sword, but infuse this place, this earth place that we all can agree is pretty fallen sometimes and a pretty rough spot.
Yeah.
Infuse it with that goodness, that love that you were talking about, that John 3:16 love.
Yeah.
That love that He sent His Son. He loves us so much that He spends it all.
Yeah.
To redeem us. That type of atmosphere here on earth. So whenever you come into a coffee shop and you go, what is this? Yeah, the coffee's good, but my soul feels at peace. These people are different. That's a business, but it makes you ask questions. Why are they different? What is going on? It's not the coffee. We're intellectual people. We understand that it can't be the coffee. It can't be the food. I do like it there. What is this? And in finding that out, why are you so happy? Why do you have joy? Why is it better here? Yeah. Then you get an opportunity like a podcast or like a sit down, and you get to share with them the good news of like, it's the king of this kingdom that is invading, if you will.
That's really interesting.
On this crusade.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because there's a misunderstanding about the kingdom that I really think like is Satan's doing, where he comes in and says, oh yeah, it's like the Crusades, because they got it so wrong in what they were doing. because there's this kingdom language, and he was using language, Jesus was using language in the Bible to talk about, something in the spiritual, using an analogy. All of a sudden, these guys, these war-torn, like, people in medieval times, got this proclamation from a church that was an empire, you know what I mean? That said, hey, if you go on these crusades, all your sins will be wiped clean. And they jumped all over it, and it's like, because you're advancing the kingdom of heaven, and it's like, oh my gosh, like how twisted.
Oh, it's still
When they did that,
we could talk on this for hours, but it's still pervasive in modern Christianity, because it's like, no, Jesus is enough. Jesus is enough. And then we go, yeah, but we really need to get out there. No, Jesus is enough. Because as great as your business is, if you're trying to further the kingdom, you've missed the point.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds blasphemous to some in the church, but it's really, the point is Jesus. The point is to be so consumed with his reality, his character, his nature, that the overflow, the byproduct of that is him coming out, exuding out of everything you do. You're not working and trying to go conquer a different land. You're just walking in step with him.
Yeah.
And I think that is evident here. And when we say expand the kingdom, or the kingdom of heaven brought upon this earth, it's basically understanding his will, because he does have a will, he does have a desire for us, and walking that out together with him.
Yeah.
And that doesn't have to be the church. It can be a business.
Well, I really think like the same thing that people smell when they go into a place of business that's just trying to go through the motions. Is the same thing that people smell on a lot of Christians when they're trying to go through the motions. You know what I mean?
It's like in your podcast, you had a podcast with Chelsea, and you said the monster of corporate, or something like that, the corporate monster. And I thought, oh, this man's passionate about falsehoods, fake, just
It's like I could be a monster and just really just go for a conversion of somebody if I'm like a Christian, I could read the Bible, get it mixed up just like they did back in the day. And while it's not on a large scale, it's still on a very small scale. When I get introduced to one person and I'm like, this person has to give their life to Jesus. You know what I mean? And it's like, no, like, first I need to inspect me and say, like, what's my motivation for knowing this person? Is it just to go for their jugular? Or is it like to build a genuine relationship with this person and then share what I have with them, And if what I have is something good, of course I'm going to share it with them. Like, that's the whole point. That's what the kingdom of God is. It's like, you can't contain it in yourself, because once you've experienced it, I mean, you can't go back. Like, you are absolutely ruined from the inside out. In a great way.
Ruined in a great way.
In a great way,
father...
It's like drinking a really good cup of coffee. When you finally experience the flavor notes of a great cup of coffee, all of a sudden you understand this is different,
this is what it is.
And I love great things, because I love beer and cigars and wine and all this stuff, because it really is, all that stuff is good, and all good things come from God. And it's like, this stuff should all be part of the kingdom. It's like, why are so many Christians like down on this stuff? Like, of course it can be abused. Coffee can be abused. Food can be abused. Your car can be abused. You know what I mean? Like, whatever it is, like, you don't throw away your car. You don't throw away your coffee. It's just like, you bring it into the self-control that God gives you, and it makes all things good. Anyway, gosh, we're preaching, man. We are preaching to you. I'm so sorry.
That's where
honestly, it's just what's inside of us. And I feel like, so many people get this wrong. But it really is, for me, it's an essential part of just how I do business. not because I want to, but because it's like duh, you know.
Yeah. It's a natural overflow.
Right.
I get it though. That's an insanely hard concept to explain unless you're a part of it.
Yeah.
Unless you've tasted and seen. Because you know that you began your day, you woke up with his name on your lips or something stirring inside. And whenever you went into quiet time, he met you.
Yeah. Like we know him.
He's filling you up.
Yeah.
And then out of that, you begin to interact with your family, and they're getting filled up. It's just this buzz that continues on. And then you get to meet your coworkers and find out, did they have a good day? Did they have a bad day? Where are they right now? And then bringing them into this kingdom thing.
Right.
And it's just him. It's simple as breathing.
Well, and I think, people can come in here and experience it. And people have even told me when they've come in, like, man, when I come in here, I feel at home. And it's like, well, part of that is just because you're loved when you come in here, and I'm in here like.
And you mean it though. I think
you.
people can sniff this stuff out because we know when we're being sold something.
Yeah.
I mean, and don't get me wrong, I can tell sometimes whenever your mind is elsewhere, and I've come into the shop and you've been dealing with something else, and I'm like, hey, Lance. Okay, not today with Lance. Hey, Gideon. Hey, man, what's up? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like we have our off moments, but like that's a rarity.
Yeah.
And it's a touch point. This business right here is a touch point. I think we've said it in the past. It is a beachhead. That's a military term. We're trying to get away from that, but it is. You know what I mean? It is. It's a place where people can taste and see the Lord is good.
Taste and see. It's weird because like the more and more I talk about stuff like this and like get what's on the inside of me out, and I talk about why it's important to be like excellent in what you do and how offering things like even like the analogy of experiencing the flavor notes all of a sudden getting your mind blown. It's like I realize how much of this, God has orchestrated and how his fingerprints are just all over it. And it's funny because, people have a bad experience with the crusaders of the world, or just like this, or the nasty side of religion that doesn't have anything to do with the real kingdom, but they're setting up a crusader kingdom, and they get really turned off by it, and they see right through it, and they can tell like this isn't good, and I'm not going to have any part of it. And so many times they blame that on Jesus, or they blame that on God when Jesus came to this earth, like he was opposed to those people. Like he was down on the crusaders of the day. He was down on the religious organization that was just going through the motions and winning converts.
Didn't even recognize him.
Putting down the rules. And it was like, man, that's who he condemned. In fact, that's who killed him when he was on this earth, And I'm just glad when people come into here that they can have a little taste of that, of what he really stood for, And if that's all I do, in my Christian walk, I think when I get to heaven, God's just gonna say, hey, good job. That's what I put you there to do. Like, good job. But if I didn't do any of that, I really feel like it'd be like, hey, I know that guy. I know him. Like, let him in. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's never a to-do list. It really does have to be from the overflow. And I say this all the time, when you're starting your own coffee shop, or if you're going through troubled times in your coffee shop, like, look inside yourself and just ask yourself, do I love the people who are walking in the door? Why am I doing this? Like, why am I doing this? And that will tell you a lot. It'll tell you a whole lot about how you're coming across to people, because like I said, they can smell it. They can smell motivation. And if it's not genuine, people don't like it. So yeah. man,
Yeah.
this was an incredible conversation. This went way deep.
Yeah.
We went philosophical on you guys.
Pretty sure all my cameras died.
All right. Hey, dude, thanks so much for sitting down with me.
My
I know
honor.
this was like last second. And so I was like,
yeah.
hey, you wanna do this, And so we just sat down, I jotted down a few questions, and that way you could kind of get to know Jarrod. His heart is so awesome, and he's so passionate about what he does, and he does such an amazing job. I wanted to introduce you to him. Call him, get to know him. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for checking out Coffee Snob. Check out our other podcasts. We got tons of them. We got a lot of shorts out there. Check them out. Come see us. If you're in Texas, come by the Lingleville Country Store.
You won't regret it.
Well, it is what it is. It doesn't look like this on the inside. We kind of create this like smoky atmosphere. But it really is just a family-friendly country store where we serve up some amazing cups of coffee. I would say that probably the best you could ever have. I seek out the best coffee I could possibly get my hands on, the rarest stuff I can possibly get my hands on, and then just the cutting edge processes, the cutting edge coffees of the day. I really like sharing what I do. And so, yeah, come out and see us. Thanks for checking out the podcast. We'll see you next time.